It's hard to pinpoint the best thing the BBC did on Twitter yesterday. On the one hand, they declared the humongously exciting return of the League of Gentlemen back for 3 new episodes to mark 20 years since they made their debut as a radio show. But on the other, there's the tweet their press office sent to their counterparts at Dave. Hello at Dave Channel, they said. Would you like to buy some pegs, Dave? From the very first TV episode of the League of Gentlemen, it was clear you were watching something utterly unique. Not only has the phrase "a local shop for local people" gone down in the national consciousness as an impossibly perfect description of the grudging service offered in certain parts of small-town Britain. The accompanying moment where Mark Gatiss inquires about the price of the snow globes, only to be met by a wailing, piggy-snouted Steve Pemberton screeching about the precious things, occurs 5 minutes into the show's debut. In less time than it takes to make a cup of tea, the League of Gentlemen had seared a catchphrase into the nation's psyche. Really, it shouldn't have worked. Sections of the show seemed intended to scare the audience out of their wits. As well as overt horror references, Edward and Tubbs lift dialogue straight from The Wicker Man. The local ice cream van blares the bit of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells that's used in The Exorcist. Their Christmas special appeared determined to send viewers to bed with nightmares. Their parting shot for leaving fans with a feeling of fuzzy Yuletide cheer, the town's vicar having a flashback to being a small girl, weeping and wailing as she witnessed the kidnap of her mother, before Papa Lazarus violently abducts her. But it's the blend of the absurd and the brutal that carries it off. For all the knuckle-clenching discomfort of Papa Lazarus' appearance, it's the daftness of the fact he calls everyone Dave that renders him funny. Despite Tubbs and Edward murdering travelers in borderline demonic sex games, they have a pathetic air that makes them hard to despise. And lest we forget, it all takes place in a town named after Roy Chubby Brown. Both batshit ludicrous and a genuine dramatic tour de force. Steve Pemberton as Pauline. Photograph Nick West, BBC Two. It's hard to think of another sitcom so phenomenally well acted, either. At one point, Pemberton, Shearsmith and Gatiss managed to wring astonishing melodrama from the tale of a chocolate bar theft in a newsagent. The comedy comes entirely from the fact that their gigantic performances ramp up the tension until it's surely the most stately piece of dramatic interplay to ever feature the words "Ginsters pasties." So nuanced are Pemberton's performances as job center worker Pauline that she goes from being a bullying, malevolent Jobsworth to one of the most endearing characters via the sweet friendship she develops with the terminally dense Mickey. It sounds a weird thing to say of a show that's so batshit ludicrous, but it was a genuine, dramatic tour de force. And what a legacy it's had. Without the League of Gentlemen giving Gatiss a break, we may never have had Sherlock and the phenomenon of Cumberbatch. Without it making the leap from BBC sitcom to its own film, we may not have had the likes of the brilliant Alan Partridge. Alpha Papa, let's gloss over Mrs. Brown's Boys D-movie. We may not have had Tom Hardy spending the whole of recent BBC series Taboo sounding so Papa Lazarus that he might be about to start selling pegs. And when it finally returns after a 15-year break, what next for the show? Anything it wants, frankly. Let's hope what it wants is to keep going and going.